Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provide a list of content warnings in the episode description.
Welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes of Pretty Little Liars for you.
Ah, yes. We did it, everybody. Jason is son.
You were so excited.
Very excited. It's like I shouldn't be that excited. It was fairly telegraphed, I feel. But I'm just very excited that I got one.
You did get one.
Very happy with that. Two great episodes.
Uh-huh.
Unequivocally. I love these episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And, outside of me just being right.
Yeah, well, you do love being right.
Yes, exactly.
It makes you very happy.
I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't like being right? We got some good character stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we got some good Mona stuff.
Did we?
We did.
Uh-huh.
Very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you did a very good poker face on not giving up that Holden is not quite in a fight club, but he is practicing fighting.
He's wearing a gi and he's kicking things. Yes, That is correct.
That's right.
I just remembered that it was like a medical thing, too. Like, they didn't want him doing it because it was some medical thing.
Right. So there you go. I didn't have that piece of like why his parents wouldn't want him to. Well, when I imagine Fight Club, I feel like most people's parents wouldn't want you doing a Fight Club at 16.
Yeah, but this was just like organized karate.
Right. He's just going to a tournament.
But yes, and we get the red coat. We got the red coat.
Oh, right. From the laundry.
You already forgot about the red coat.
I forgot what it was. I thought it was a jumpsuit at first.
You
like
did.
A painter's jumpsuit.
It's a raincoat.
Got it. Okay, so yes, we also got the raincoat.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get, we just got the raincoat.
Yeah, well, and we got a phone number from it.
Yes, to a weird dude that works at a cell store.
He got kicked out of his job in HR.
Mm-hmm. Did he say HR?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what, really? I missed that.
Yeah, because that's how he had the people information.
Oh. I thought, okay, maybe... Let's hash this out real quick. So he had the people information. Wasn't he looking up a phone number?
Yeah, but I think she thought he worked there or something. The person, whoever was stalking her. I think there was like some other information involved.
Got it. Okay. I misunderstood. I thought he was like looking up the cell phone number and tracking it for her.
Maybe? But I thought it was because of his job. Yes.
He works for the cell phone company. So like it would be like a guy working at Verizon.
But I thought he had said he worked in HR.
Okay. Want me to go with the summary then?
Yeah, and I'll look it up.
Confirm for us. That's next episode anyway, so we have some time. But first, we have to get to episode 41, season 2, episode 19, The Naked Truth. Ashley and Hannah are in the principal's office with Kate and her. Oh yes, this. Kate and her mom. Hannah's phone rings and they all glare at her. Hannah goes to grab it, but Ashley is just like, "What are you doing?" And then Hannah stops. The principal walks in and calls for Mrs. Marin, and they both answer yes, and then look at each other and glare. What is Ashley's maiden name?
We don't know.
Yeah, interesting. The other three friends are staring at the aforementioned raincoat. Spencer just picked it up from the laundry. Aria asks if she can touch it, and Spencer says it's a raincoat, not a mummy. Aria mentions that Kate's mom is threatening to sue Ashley over the whole thing with Kate. They then wonder how A knows about this, being like the raincoat and things. Aria finds a note in the pocket with a phone number, but no name. Spencer wants to call it, and Emily says we shouldn't. Aria and Spencer then say, "We need answers." Emily says, "No way." Spencer says, "Well, if you're too scared." And Emily's like, "I'm not scared." Grabs the phone number and calls. Emily gets an automated message for their voicemail, though, and then freezes up. So then Aria grabs it and leaves a message saying, "This is Vivian's friend. We need to talk. Call me back." Did you find any conclusive evidence?
Yeah, he worked in HR at the cellular store.
Okay, so you're quite right. I'm glad we hashed this out.
Right.
I'm exactly. No reason to doubt, but I do.
I'm wrong every now and then.
Yeah, very, very confident in my note-taking abilities, apparently. In the principal's office, the principal says, teenagers makes mistakes. Like, we should all, no need, like, teenagers do things. And Kate's mom is Isabel, who I'd forgotten her name, says, no way, this was intentional, and Hannah's track record speaks for itself. The principal then says, like, she will be punished. Like, we have a zero tolerance for bullying. Isabel then says she's had it with Hannah, and, like, her mom is, like, never at home, which Ashley, being in the room, says, like, I'm a divorcee whose husband left for you. And the principal says, usually we'd expel the student just outright. But given the weird situation here, you'd be better served by participating in the school event Truth Up Day. You'll be working in the same group, learning to agree with each other. They then all agree, and he says, make sure you bring a change of clothes and a sleeping bag. Overstepping, principal. You aren't their therapist. I'm glad Hannah doesn't get expelled. But it's just kind of like, what are you doing here, sir?
You were worried about her?
Yeah, very much so.
She's your girl.
Yeah. I'm a favorite. I don't like how she's proven right, but I'm happy I know she wasn't guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Hannah talks to the friends and is mad, saying that A is now using their own phones against them. She goes to walk to class, and everyone in the hall starts staring at her. She sees Kate down the hall, so then turns the other way and walks to class. The other three friends then leave to walk to their respective classes, and Emily talks about how the principal's such a jerk. He's the one keeping me off the swim team. He doesn't want anybody in the pool who would tarnish the team's image. Arya then sees Holden setting up for Truth Day and decides to help him out. She asks about his bruise, and he's like, it's fine. Arya says, how come, in this arrangement, I don't get to know what you're doing or who you're meeting? He's like, well, what you know is enough. A girl then knocks over Holden's bag, and it's like a big bag with little baggies that look like they're all kind of tied into knots in it, falls out. So it looks like drugs.
I thought it looked like peppermints the first glance, and I was like, I don't remember where this plot point's going.
It looked like
saltwater taffy, maybe.
Yeah, he's selling taffy door to door.
How cute.
I still don't know what these are though. I'm assuming maybe it's he has his medicine tied up into separate things.
Or I thought maybe it was just a baggie with the pills in it. It's just blurry, so you can't really tell what it is.
Yeah, maybe. That would make sense if it's his pills for his heart. Mm-hmm. Arya then sees it, and Holden runs to scoop it up real quick and grab his bag, and then quickly runs off. Spencer walks down the hall and sees Noel and Jenna making out. Jason then walks over and is like, hey, Spencer, and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm back from Georgia visiting my grandmother, and I'm back at the school doing my outreach to youth thing. He's like, give your dad a message for me that I'm back and he can't keep dodging my calls. Ella then walks up to the two of them and talks to Spencer about Truth Up Day and helping out. And Jason says, hey, do you need extra people to help work it? And Ella's like, sure, that's all right.
Well, she asked him first. He says no, and then he's like, you know what? Actually, I can be there.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Because he finds out that Spencer's parents will be there.
Oh, got it. I thought he just had assumed that her parents would be there.
No,
okay.
She asked Spencer, "Are your parents still in?" And she says yes.
So this is another reason I shouldn't be too confident in my note taking.
Whereas I don't know why that's what I stored in my head.
You got it. You got the HR. You got this.
I pay more attention than I give myself credit.
Right. All right. Here you go. The scene opens up on a close-up of Hannah looking at Kate's photo in her room as Ashley comes in. I thought it was a weird thing to open up on. Hannah says, Mom, you don't have to go to Truth Up Day. And Ashley's like, I want to go. And I need answers myself. Okay, this is a nitpicking thing. Why is it called Truth Up Day when it's at night? I digress. Ashley says, maybe I've held you back by not holding you to talking about stuff when things happen. And I was like, well, like, you know, it's okay. I don't want to like talk about it. And Ashley says, we have to. This is just like, this is a second time. This is another, it's happened multiple times where you've said someone is framing you. Who do you think it is? Ashley's like, you please, like, I'm stuck here. Like, I have to ask you, did you send that picture out? Hannah doesn't answer, so Ashley goes to leave. Hannah stops her and says, I didn't do it.
What always confused me about this is why she doesn't say, I don't know.
Right.
Because that's the truth.
It is the truth.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And she does that later, too. Or no, she did it with Caleb, right?
Mm-hmm.
And multiple other liars will do that. I like, who do you think is messing with you? It's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But Hannah doesn't.
Yeah. Hannah freezes up. At Truth Up Day, Spencer tells the friends that they all have to turn their phones off as like from the teachers say they have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Ella then starts organizing the students and to pick a line and start registering. Arya gets in line as Holden walks over and tries to talk to her, but she keeps freezing him out. He asks if she's not talking to him because of what fell out of his bag. And like, did you tell your mom about that? Arya says, I didn't, but I'm not okay with what you're doing. He says, oh, okay, well, what is that? Arya says, I'm not stupid. That bag wasn't filled with Flintstones vitamins. He says, you're way off, but then gets called to a different line. Caleb and Hannah wait in line, and Kate sees her and glares at her. Cut to a music room where Jenna is playing the piano as Caleb and Arya walk in. Caleb asks Arya if she knew that Jenna would be in this group, and she says no. Cue a tremendous pairing.
I love them together. They should be together more. I don't really think they spend a lot of time together, and they should. They
really should. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Because like she has such great facial expressions, and Caleb has just such like a nonchalant, I don't give a fuck attitude.
Exactly.
And when the two of them, if they get pissed, it's all over.
Right. Arya's the perfect is perfectly amenable to like the way that like Caleb thinks too. So just be like, I don't know, and then Caleb's blunt about it, so then it like works both ways. Yeah, I love it. Veronica arrives at the school and goes down the hall and then runs into Jason. She's like, oh, Jason, nice to see you. Jason asks like, hey, is Peter here too? And she says, oh, he's out of town. And Jason's like, of course. And Veronica's like, I'm sorry, what did you say? And Jason's like, oh, nothing. After you, and leads her into a room.
I am son.
Exactly. Where's my father? Do 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 do. They then walk into the room where Arya and Caleb are, and Arya freaks out. Caleb asks, hey, do you know that guy? And she's like, yes. Arya wants to leave, and Caleb says, I don't think we have a choice. And if we're spilling our guts today, some of us will have a lot to say. And another thing, a good thing about Caleb in these episodes, Ashley leads a group that has Mona and Emily in it. Another really good pairing. Ashley asked to take us, like, is doing an exercise where it's like, if this has happened to you or you felt this way, you take a step forward. So first she asks if the students have felt that a student or faculty member has mistreated them. Emily steps forward, but then continues to step forward, and Ashley's like, oh, Emily, just one step at a time, and, keep going with the next one. She then asks if they feel the school is an unsafe environment. Emily takes 2 steps forward again. Ashley tries to correct her, but then Emily's like, no, 1 step is not enough. Some of us, like, are living in this horrible environment, and it gets worse every day. 1 mistake and you're tarnished, never to be trusted again. The principal, who is hanging out in the corner, calls her over to talk to her. And one-on-one then says to her, if you're feeling unsafe or unwelcome, then maybe it's because of you, like how you and your friends have acted this year. And maybe your fellow students feel that way, like because of you. He then goes on to say, you're no saint, Emily, and you'll get nothing by attacking me.
This man is so inconsistent.
Right.
He's like, Hannah, you know what? I know you sent a girl's nudes out. It's fine. You just need to go to the sleepover.
Yep.
Emily, you and all of your friends got in trouble. Therefore, you can't play water polo, even though they didn't charge you with anything.
It's out. What can he control? Within the halls of the student, it's maybe just a rumor and things that the phone thing happened. But when it's public image of someone who's been arrested that's on the swim team.
Yeah, but Kate's mom could have pressed charges.
Yeah, that's true. But she didn't. He can control it.
He can't control it, though. She can press charges even outside of the school.
I know, but they're going along with it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Arya gets a text from A. Truth hurts, sweetie. May hurt your pal more than you. Arya looks around her room to see who might have texted, but sees only Jenna reaching into her purse, but then only eats gum. Back to Ella's, we then go over to Ella's group. This has Noel, Kate, and Hannah. Oof. Kate talks about like there's like asking like students to like kind of speak freely, and like instead of like the magic conch, they have a ball that they're passing back and forth. Kate is like, I like I want to go back to my old school. And I was like, why? Explain a little bit more of that. Why is that? And she's like, that school has nice people. And I was like, can you explain what you mean by nice people? Kate says, students, you know what? Students deserve more. More say, if someone wrongs you, you should be able to decide their punishment. Noel then speaks up and grabs the ball. He's like, yeah, throw it over to me. And says, if someone pulled that shit on me, I'd go postal. And then says, you deserve, but you, Kate, you deserve a billboard. Ella then says, like, drop the tough guy act, Noel. And Noel says, you know what? Guys, like, just fight and they get it over with. But, like, girls, they don't fight fair. Hannah then walks over and grabs the ball from him. Just like, shut up. And says, where does he get off calling people out? He's a blackmailer, like, son of a... And then Ella cuts her off. And then Hannah is just like, Ella, you've known me for forever. Do you really think I'm a bully? Ella doesn't respond, and Hannah says, you know what? Don't answer that. Like, I already know what everybody thinks of me, and walks off. I like Hannah intervening here.
Mm-hmm.
Emily sees Mona and goes to talk to her. Mona asks about like how Hannah's doing, and like Emily's like, yeah, she's doing okay, but like, it's it's kind of hard with everybody looking at you like this. Emily says, I know you heard what the principal said when I was over talking to him about that. And, I'm sorry for the way things happened when Allie was around. Like, I could have, like, done more to, like, stop her. Mona kind of, like, freezes a little bit at this, but then turns back and is like, you know what? Water under the bridge. I'm more concerned with your treatment. Like, if you were a guy, you'd be back on the swim team. They cut a ton of slack for the football players. And he's like, how do you know this? And Mona's like, I work in like the principal's office. And like, you know what? You should know what I know. Veronica's group. Veronica asked Jenna, like, who would you like to like help you as we kind of do our activities today? And Jenna is like, no one. I don't trust anyone. Veronica says, well, what the truth update is like, it's time like for people to be able to open up. And Jenna says, this is a place full of snakes. And you think I'm just like gonna forgive people who like hurt me? I can't even begin to tell you how I've been mistreated. Veronica asks, like what? Jenna says, how much time do you have? What about the time I was cornered in the girls' bathroom and smacked? Caleb then turns to Arya and is like, is she referring to Hannah? Caleb then speaks up and says, Jenna, you couldn't talk about that because like you would then have to admit that you threw the first punch. We're speaking the whole truth today, right? Not just the part we want to remember. Also, Jenna, it's Caleb speaking, in case you're confused.
And Arya's face throughout that whole thing is great.
Just like, oh. Spencer stops Jason in the hall and says...
And yells, his son.
Are we... I think this is the scene. Oh, no, we're not quite there yet. And says like, how like weird it is that you're like working with my mom and stuff. And Jason says, yeah, I was hoping it'd be your dad. Jason goes to walk away and Spencer stops him to like, it's like, I just want to know the truth. Like, what's going on? Jason says, you need to ask your dad when he's back in town. And Spencer's like, what are you talking about? He's not out of town. Like, and he won't tell me. And then Jason just like, is like, and walks away. Emily and Arya discuss Caleb going after Jenna. And it's like, oh no, he's definitely going to be on our hit list now. And they're like, where's Hannah? We haven't been able to find her. Emily notices that she never got a call back from the number that they called at the beginning episode from the raincoat. They then step into the bathroom to discuss this in private. Arya calls the number again, but a woman picks up. And Arya's like, I'm a friend of Vivian's. The woman just says, no one here knows of Vivian. Don't call this number again, and hangs up. Over the loudspeaker, Emily gets called to the principal's office. Arya walks out of the bathroom and gets stopped by Holden and is like, hey, do you want to eat together? And Holden's like, hey, are we like also like still good for like Saturday? Arya's like, I'm like feeling weird about this whole arrangement now. Like you getting hurt and like the baggie. Holden says, don't you need me to cover for you? Don't like you also need this? And Arya says, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Walks away. Caleb and Hannah are on the roof. Hannah is like, there's only 4 people in this town that don't think I live in the sewer. Caleb's like, I tried that. The roof is much better. Hannah hears a rustle like from the roof and is like, hey, is someone there? And Caleb's like, I think that was just the wind. No one's there. Caleb is then like, hey, let me see your phone. Let me see if I can trace the IP address for the text. Hannah's like, just tries to avoid this and is just like, just hold me, and they kiss. Emily goes into the principal's office and Mona opens the door for her. She's like, yeah, the principal stepped out. I saw him leave early. So like we have like access to everything and I'm getting you back on the swim team. Mona then opens up the expenses file folder on the computer. Mona says she knows how to work in here because the secretary was her only friend freshman year. Poor Mona. Mm-hmm. Mona said if like sees Emily being hesitant, is like, if you're too scared, we can stop. And Emily says, no, I'm not. I'm just locking the door. And as she does, Mona smiles.
The theme of the episode, Emily, if you're too scared.
It really is. What are you, chicken?
You scared?
How could you do? I always think of Lucille's chicken sound with thinking the Arrested Development chicken sounds. Veronica meets with Ella and Ashley. Hey, another parent scene. Like on their break.
This one's God tier though.
It really is. Ella says, I don't think Hannah did it. And you know, that like someone's like potentially trying to frame her. Veronica asks, like, to what end? Ashley says, something happened to our girls when Allie went missing, and like we need to figure it out. Veronica's like, you know, I don't think it's when they lost Alison. I think it's when they met her. Ella and Ashley look at each other awkwardly. Emily is on the principal's computer as Mona coaches her through looking through the expense reports. Mona says, you know, look here. Ryan was back on the team after he got in trouble. And let's look at this. Look at that. Oh, we found it. We found why he's back on the team. His dad owns a furniture store, and you know, that just how much like this costs like is exactly the chair you're sitting in. And it's the same number on that expense report right there. And Emily's like, well, wait a minute. Like, I can't actually blackmail a school official. And Mona says, you can't be a shark if you're toothless. Jason is on the phone as Veronica walks up. Jason's like, well, I just left Peter a message. Turns out he's not out of town. Veronica says, like, it's none of your business. Jason says, it's always been my business. I didn't know that until recently. Veronica says, we don't have time, like, for this. Like, today's all about, like, truth and things, so we gotta be back. And Jason's like, yes, it is. And it's also about coming clean and not living in denial. Spencer overhears their conversation from around the corner and has a flashback. Allie and Spencer are hanging out. They hear Spencer's mom and dad fighting. Allie asks if they like fight every night. Are they getting a divorce? Spencer's like, they're not getting a divorce. My dad's just upset because Jason gave Melissa a ride home and they got caught making out in the car. Allie says, open the door. I want to hear this. Spencer says, I don't know why they even care. Melissa doesn't like Jason. She's obsessed with Ian. Allie says, well, Melissa better not like Jason. It would be a match frowned upon by the gods. Back in the present, Spencer runs away as her mom comes out of the room. Hannah walks up to Arya and Emily. Hannah tells them about Caleb having her phone, looking at the IP address. They see Kate and Hannah sees as she takes off her sweater that she has a birthmark. Hannah's in like, Emily, do you still have the photo? And she's like, yeah. And it's just like, okay, let me see it. Look, there's no birthmark here. That's Photoshop. Arya's like, wait. Like, what are you trying to say? If she was trying to embarrass her, like, if she was going to be embarrassed, like, why would she prove herself? Arya. Hannah says, what if it wasn't what if it wasn't who like took the photo and sent it from my phone? Like, what if it was like someone else that like took the photo and then sent it from my phone, and they all stare at Kate. Hannah leads Kate into the girls' bathroom to talk privately. Hannah says, I know who might have sent the photo. That someone put your head on somebody else's body. Kate says, I don't know what you're talking about. Hannah says, better be careful not to lift up your shirt in public for the birthmark. And then it's just like, why would you do this? And Kate says, what? Like, what, I was just supposed to wait until all your friends came after me? Like, I didn't know that wasn't going to happen? Arya and Emily then step out of the stalls to show that they were recording the entire conversation.
They're not in California, so this might be legal.
Woof. Yeah. The three friends walk down the hall and Hannah's like, I need to show my mom the audio. Arya says it's like genius. Kate takes down Hannah, gets sympathy from the girls, and every guy wants her. Hannah tells Arya to tell Caleb to stop cracking the phone now because, like, we know, like, who it is, and we don't want Jenna coming after him. We then open, it's like on like confessions written on like a blackboard as like a flashlight is like panning over them. Mm-hmm. So it's like different ones of like more mundane like school things. But then the last one hovers over, I know who killed Alison DeLaurentis. Arya then walks into the room and sees Noel and Jenna in there in the dark with a flashlight. Noel asks like, are you looking for someone? It's like, I'm looking for Caleb. Have you seen him? Noel says, no, maybe someone threw him out with the rest of the garbage. Arya's like, well, if he comes back in here, just like let me know. And Noel's like, he better not.
Aren't you all supposed to be in that room later?
Yeah, up here is Noel. Why are you acting so weird? Arya runs down the hall and Holden notices. Arya then looks for Caleb. Oh, wait, as she runs down the hall, like you see Holden notice that she runs. We also see Caleb sitting at a table. This is important in a little bit. Arya looks for Caleb on the roof, but can't find him. She puts 2 bricks in front of the door to prop it open. Spencer walks up to Jason, who's kind of listening to something with his headphones in. She then gets a text from A. Don't be scared, Spencer. We're all family here. Some more than others. The camera... Oh, this is when the camera pans to the left and we see Caleb sitting on his laptop inside school. Spencer approaches Jason and she asks him if he's back because her dad is his father too. Jason's like, who told you? Spencer says, Alison a long time ago, but I didn't hear it until tonight. Jason is son. Arya is on the phone, and we see a shadow move across the background on the roof. Arya notices the door has been closed back inside, so she bangs on it to get it open. We see a figure move behind her, and she hears noises and asks if someone's there. She runs and starts to climb up a ladder further up, like, the roof. She gets to, like, the second rung before, like, her leg gets grabbed. It's Noel who's yelling at her, like, where's your pal, Caleb? Holden then comes in, does a karate kick. Nolan knocks him all the way over. Nolan says, what is wrong with you, you idiot? Wasn't attacking her as he run inside. Yeah, not attacking her by grabbing her leg.
Yeah.
Arya asks where Holden learned to kick like that. Holden says, we just need to get away from here. Emily goes to lay out her sleeping bag and sees the principal talk with Mona, like on the other side of the glass. And Mona then sees the principal leave, and Mona then comes back and tells Emily, hey, it's all done. Emily's like, well, he can't know we're in his office. And Mona says, he won't, but you're back on the team. Hooray. Emily asks why she did this, and Mona's like, well, it was fun. Spencer looks for her mom in the hall, but can't find her at all. We then see Isabel arrive at the principal's office where Ashley is already waiting. The 2 girls are speaking to the principal at the time. Ashley says, you know what? Like, before you like start casting aspersions, you better take care of your own family first. Hannah and Kate step out of the office as Kate looks mad, but Hannah's happy and embraces her mom. Spencer and Veronica are talking about the big relation. Veronica lets her know that Melissa doesn't know the truth. Veronica says she didn't find out until Jason was an adult, and she discussed it with Peter. Spencer feels super gross about it. Veronica says, I didn't want you to feel betrayed. And like sometimes I do, but we can all get past this. Every family has its secrets. Let's get home and we'll talk to your father. Spencer's like, no way. Veronica says this changes nothing. And Spencer says this changes everything. Veronica tries to get her to go home. Spencer's like, well, where is even home? And then she's like, that's a joke, and walks off. We then see Spencer sadly staring out the window, sitting on 3 stacks of chairs in a classroom. Emily wakes up and sees her and is like, what time is it? And Spencer shrugs. Emily then looks at her phone and sees 6 missed calls from the number they called her. Aya rolls over and asks what happened. Hannah wakes up and goes, where the hell am I?
Vibes.
And then Emily says, they're calling now, and answers it. It's a man who asks if it's Vivian's friend and what they want. Emily's like, well, yes, and I just have a few questions. The man says, I have a few myself, but I don't want to do this over the phone. Will you meet me? Emily says yes. Our POV shot for the episode. Looking over all the sleeping students as they walk over to Caleb, take his laptop out of his backpack. The end.
Okay. What's up with the red coat?
Yeah, what was why was it getting laundered, and why does it have this
number in it?
Yeah, maybe Vivian, who was meeting up with this person who she obviously got the information. It's because he's like, I gave it over. Well, we'd learn that next episode, but that this is a paper trail pretty much for herself, like a little thing of clues, because the ticket was in. Where did they find? I'm trying to remember where they found the ticket.
The ticket was in the Lolita book.
It was in the Lolita book, yes. So it was a place for safekeeping for her if she ever needed to go back and it was another hiding place for information to trace back what she was doing.
Got it.
Which was trying to figure out who the hell was trying to get after her, I guess. Conclusive proof, I guess. Obviously, she seems to have had a suspicion about it. So,
why does Kate's mom hate Hannah so bad?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think Isabel is misguided. She still married Tom, so I think she views Hannah now as just this interloper. She obviously also hates Ashley, because Ashley's some sort of threat. Well, and also
Tom did sleep with her.
Yeah. So I think she's just got a lot of misplaced anger because she's still married the dud. One of the biggest duds. Let's see. Only Wayne. We knew Wayne was the only good one, but
You know what's great about Wayne? He has very little screen time.
Exactly. The more screen time he has, there's something that's gonna come up. Husbands, all bad.
Dads just suck.
Yeah, dads suck. That is absolutely the take-home message of this. We don't even know about the DeLaurentis patriarch, really, but we can assume that he sucks.
I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, what other dads do we have? Just the main 3 dads. Yeah, they all suck. Principal sucks. He's not dad, but
he sucks.
Yeah, adult male figures. They all suck.
Jason, who is son, what does he want to talk to Papa Hastings about?
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, trying to think back of when Jason finds out, I think there's he is angry at him and has never gotten a conclusive talk with him. So I do think it is very on the level of, I am angry with this person
and I just want to talk.
Exactly, that you're my father, and you why didn't all those weird misplaced things, and he wants to just hash it out finally, because it sounds like he's been avoiding this conversation, and is ready to confront this and wants to bury it, but is having having gotten to the point where it's well, I can move on even if this person doesn't want to talk. You know what I mean? It's just I need this to be able to move forward with my life. That's what I think that it is non-suspicious, I should say.
Got it. Okay. Noel's sexist comments about how girls fight.
Yeah. Of course Noel would be like that. That it is exactly.
Who assigned these groups?
Oh my God.
The devil herself?
Yeah, well, I mean, the principal did assign that Kate and Hannah would be together. You threw in Noel in there just for good measure.
They're like,
Good
you know what?
God.
Let's ruin Ella's night.
The biggest dud on the... Oh, God. Poor Ella. Well, she's the teacher. She'll be able to handle all this. All the rest of them are just volunteers. But good God, oh, is it awful? Yeah, Noel is just the goddamn worst. Just the worst on every single level. But this is not an uncommon viewpoint for like, that gender essentialism thing of like girls are just always like sneakier and more conniving. They'll make it like they'll hold on to grudges. It's like, no.
Meanwhile, like every man I've ever dated held on to a grudge.
Yeah.
You didn't say that you liked my cologne the one time, and
Right. It's like just because you fought doesn't mean it was over. You didn't talk about it. Yeah. No. God. There is no redeeming qualities about Noel. He is the absolute bargain worst.
Yeah, he's boy menace.
Bottom of the bin. Yeah. On every single level. But and then when he's like intimidating Arya in the dark, it's just like, what the hell?
She's also like extremely small, so like the fact that she's like barely up the ladder and he grabs her ankle and you're like, oh my God, she's at shoulder height.
Right. Where are you? Where's your pal Caleb? He's downstairs.
He's not on the fucking roof.
He's like right in the open.
How was Noel gonna get out if you close the door?
Exactly. No, that's why I love it. It's just that Noel is trapped on the roof. But also that Noel, when he's like in the dark with Jenna in the like whiteboard room, and then is just like trying to intimidate her, and Arya's just like, okay.
Arya gets the best like, okay, bye scenes.
Right. It's just like, oh, all right, later, you're being weird.
Peace.
There's always a reaction of just like, okay.
Mona empowered Emily to take on sexism.
Yes. I love Mona being like, the living up to that agent of chaos of just like, yes, Emily, what if we did the quote unquote wrong thing? It's like, no, we can really do this. You just have to have the right leverage. You can't be a shark if you're toothless. I loved it. I love this pairing. And it is also like so interesting too to have us, or it's really nice to have that grounding back, because like Emily and Mona don't hang out. So then Emily feeling like, hey, I'm sorry, like I really could have done more when Alison was making your life hell, and I'm sorry about that. I think is meaningful. There's like some other like parts of that scene which we'll get to in Theory Corner, which I think is trying to mislead us. But like, Mona is just kind of like not quite ready to hear it, but like still takes it on anyway. And it's just like, well, it's like, she's not really doing this for Emily. It's just like, no, we can like fuck with people. And like, I have so much power. Like, look at what we can do with my power.
I love that.
And you can share in it too. It's kind of like come over to the dark side. As
an extension of Hannah, I will allow you.
Yes. And I like that we get Mona doing things away from Hannah. I think that was a great, we talked about both pairings that we liked, but I think that was a real strength of this episode, is having like different characters interacting with some of the side characters away from their accessories.
Yes. Much like you liked Spencer and Mona's moment in that previous one.
Yeah. This time we get a whole episode with Mona doing a completely different thing that isn't related to a guy. It's like, we learn a lot of things about her. Like, just number one, that she like already works in the office, that she is not afraid to use the power that she has at her, or like at her disposal. And some background on like, I didn't really have a lot of friends.
Yep. Caleb throwing shade on Jenna, just a brief like, yes.
Yeah, let's bask in it. That was good stuff. It's so funny. He gets really good ones in both of these episodes of like, I don't give a shit. Like, like I could like, okay, you're going to expose my truths. Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to do that? Like, I'm going to own up to who I am, like, and like what I've done, but like, let's see how you handle it when that comes up. It's fantastic. I love it. You know, it always have to remember of like, you know, Jenna being Jenna in this show, but also it is like not looking at it, it's like, oh, this guy's like yelling at a blind girl.
Yes. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but in the moment,
she is a menace.
yeah. But in this moment, I'm like, yeah. And a lot of the times, I do think like, of course, Jenna is very justified to hate these people, but Caleb just like coming after Arya, being like, oh, like maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you shouldn't do that.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. Really quick, we're just gonna say Kate's plotline sucks and leave it at that. Or do you want to talk about it?
We should just talk about it briefly.
It's just bad writing.
It's really bad writing. And this is a thing that we get into in Veronica Mars too. Well, you know what is a thing that is going back all the way until, is going back all the way to when we were first dating and when saw Gone Girl, where it is taking these things of like, where you would usually blame a guy for doing it. And it's like, ooh, what a subversion when a woman does it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it's like, oh, no, this is like biting off like something horrible where you're saying like the women are to blame for like things that are like, in this case, revenge porn, but like things that are happening to women. And you're saying that women are doing it for self-serving purposes.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. That like in this, like they all agree that it's like, wow, it's a win-win for her. She gets attention from like guys and girls. And it's like, it's fucked. No, like that's not how it works. And like,
but it was also a fake body.
Right.
Which is like the weirder part too. It's like she photoshopped herself onto a different body.
So then it's also some weird body stuff thrown in there too. Like that Arya voices of like, why would she make herself better? And it's just like, that's fucked.
Mm-hmm.
So there, it's all bad. We can just leave it at that. But I did want to at least address it. Like, I wouldn't want to like go back to at least like hash out just how gross it is.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad writing. Veronica Hastings comments to Ella and Ashley on Alison. Like, I mean, she's not wrong, but
I know. It's one of those things where it's like, out of context, this is horrible. Like, a parent should not be talking about a teenager this way, but in context, you're like, yeah, probably right.
Yeah.
But then the show agrees with her, even though the parents are just like, what the fuck? Like, you're talking about like a 14-year-old who died.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah, she was a menace from birth to her last day.
Right. It's so funny that the show agrees with Veronica. It's like Veronica's just right, even though it's so out of pocket. You can't be saying that.
And then last but not least, who took Caleb's computer? Was it A? Was it someone else planting the stuff on it?
Oh no, it was Noel probably.
Noel.
Yeah, I think it was Noel. Because I was gonna say, oh, it was Jenna. It's like, no, I think it was Noel. I don't know how the hell they got in it though.
Maybe he hadn't locked it because it was in his bag.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Where in the next episode, it's just like, oh, it was planted on your hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously Garrett knows about it. So whoever did it was in cahoots with Garrett, which is why I say it's Noel or Jenna. Mm-hmm. Unless we think A is also working with that crew.
And that might be why in the next episode, Garrett was trying to get into the computer to delete the files of him before making Caleb. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Like maybe A tipped him off.
Yeah, or like he had the password from whoever did it.
Yeah, you're right. So I think you've got a much better idea. Maybe it is A, and A tips off Garrett in like typical A fashion of like, oh, Garrett wouldn't want like your video files like leaking out in the like police station.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, Garrett, or figure out this password. I'm not A, so I can't write this, but
who has the highest English grades? Maybe that'll tell us who A is.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I feel like that would point to Arya.
Mm-hmm. Certainly not the guy who was writing the story last week.
Well, that was in college.
Right, but I'm just saying it just in general.
Any final thoughts on that episode before we move to the next one?
Nope. Just another appreciation for Caleb and Arya working together. Fantastic.
Besties.
Yeah, we need to have more of them. That's fantastic energy.
Mm-hmm.
Of Caleb's bluntness.
Karya?
Yeah, but exactly. because it's you can't not watch it.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, the two bluntest. Well, I mean, Hannah's more blunt than Arya, but like the Arya energy and Caleb energy work very well as a pair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big fan.
Perfect.
All right, episode 42, season 2, episode 20. Control A. Yes. This is a very good bit. State championships. It's a winning for the swim team. Caleb and Hannah are hanging out as Caleb works on his laptop. Hannah's like, how are you like working out here like without like the Wi-Fi? And Caleb's like, I'm a hotspot. And she's like, I know, wink. And Caleb's like, no, dummy, like I have a hotspot, and like shows that he's got the little Wi-Fi thing to be able to do that like off his phone. And they continue to flirt. Spencer and Arya are then hanging out inside looking tense. Arya asks Spencer, like, are you sure you want to go through like meeting this guy tonight? Spencer's like, yes, we're going to, and like we're gonna have your back the entire time. Arya mentions that her mom like is like asking like, hey, like why is like Spencer slept over so much all week? Like what's going on there? And Spencer's like, I just can't deal with like going home and dealing with my parents. The swim team then comes in with Emily leading them, and they've got a big trophy. Maya runs up and she's got a sign for Emily congratulating her. All the friends then greet Emily and be like, great job. They then all freeze up when they see Garrett come in with other cops in tow. They all go like to follow to see what's happening. Garrett then walks directly up to Caleb and says, we have a warrant for your laptop. Someone has been hacking into school files. Caleb says, you think like I'm that dumb to leave a trail? Garrett says, well, we'll find out, and takes it. And he's like, what's your password? And Caleb is like, or it's like, I don't know, like your warrant is for the like laptop, not for what's in my head. Hannah comes over after the police leave and asks what that was about. And Caleb's like, don't worry, they couldn't get into it with a can opener. Hannah then goes back over to the friends to explain what just happened. And as she does, they all get a text from A that says, now it's Caleb's turn. Caleb isn't freaked out about his laptop getting taken, but Hannah really is. He's like, they didn't do what they think I did, so it doesn't even matter. Hannah's like, what about like the files? And Caleb says, like, all the files like from that were on the thumb drive and things, they're all backed up, like all backed up, and there's big firewalls on my computer. They won't be able to access them. Hannah says, I think someone stole your laptop and put the stolen files from like the computer from the school on your laptop to make it seem like you did it. And I think it was Garrett. Caleb says, like, how do you know this? And Hannah says, I just do. And it's like, all right, let's see if we can remotely hack into like my computer. Arya asks Holden what he's keeping from her, or else like she won't keep their arrangement. Holden is like, okay, I do martial arts and my parents don't want me doing it. There's a tournament coming up and like tomorrow is qualifiers. So please, Arya, I need your help with this. We need to go through this. Arya then agrees. Caleb explains his password to Hannah and how he keeps it safe. He's like, it's like all the letters from where I used to live, the starting letters. I alternate capitals, and I use this random number sequence, followed by an exclamation point. And Hannah's like, what do the numbers mean? He's like, nothing. They're just numbers, and, it's just an exclamation point. That's all it is. And he's like, don't worry about it. But he finds that he can't access his computer. And he's like, damn, either like they haven't messed with it at all or they are smart enough to keep it offline. Ella and Byron discuss Arya and Holden going out on a date in the city. Byron is upset because like Ella's going to meet up with a friend that he doesn't like. While like she's like driving them up there and then going and dropping them off on their date. I was like, well, maybe we should loosen the leash a little bit. Let them do things on their own. And then I wouldn't have to go hang out with this friend you don't like. Byron says, well, like it was a little extreme. Like she was dating her English teacher, and then shuts out Ella from talking about this further. The blame at Arya's feet on this. Spencer approaches
filthy habits.
She approaches the DeLaurentis' company office, but sees it's closed. She sees Jason just down the street talking to Maya. And Maya then goes and leaves. Spencer walks up to Jason and says, "Hey, I've been looking for you." Jason asks, like, "Oh, did Peter send you?" And she's like, "No. And I haven't talked to anybody about this." Jason's like, "Well, talk to your dad." And Spencer's like, "No, I'm talking to you." Jason's like, I didn't come back to get in between you and your father. And Spencer's like, "Then why did you come back?" We then cut to the two of them in a park on a bench. Jason mentions finding a box of Alison's, and that he found it under the floorboards at his grandma's. There were letters to his mom from Peter. Spencer's like, "Love letters?" He's like, "Well, a couple of them were." Once Jason was born, then Peter started sounding awful lot like a lawyer. There was also $15K in cash. Spencer says, "Where would Alison have gotten it?" Jason says, "Think about it." And Spencer's like, I bet the letters, she was blackmailing my dad to keep him from blowing up about it. And Jason says, "I know. Like, you think about it, it'd be like unbelievable to keep her from revealing the truth." Sorry. Arya sits in a restaurant with Lolita on the table. The friends then sit one table behind her. A guy walks up and says, "You're a friend of Vivian's, aren't you?" And she says yes. He asks, "How much money did she owe you?" "She also owes me a job and almost cost me a girlfriend with that call." Then he goes on to explain that Vivian came into his store. She was wanting info about like someone that was like trying to go like after her, and wanted info on the number and said she could pay for it. Arya's like, "What info?" And he's like, "Oh, I get it. You must be Alison." He's like, "Oh, a friend of hers named Alison had someone sending her texts anonymously and wanted to find out who it was." He works in HR, like we found out, and was able to find out who it was and gave it to her before she paid him. So he ended up like getting nothing and ended up getting fired over it for accessing customer data. Employee data. Arya asks for the info and he says, I gotta get paid first. And she's like, "How much does she owe you?" And he's like, $2K, at least for that's the price today. Who knows what happens with like market fluctuations? He's like, "All right, but like, if you're ready to do business, call this number," and gives her a different number. And Arya's like, "Well, who should I like ask for when I call?" And he's like, "Tell them you want to talk to Jonah." The friends debrief. The friends debrief as Arya mentions that he doesn't know that Alison's dead. Spencer says we have to figure out how to get the information. They then all stare at Spencer and she's like, "Wait, my account's been locked. Like, since the arrest, I can't get any money." Caleb is on the phone asking for his laptop back, and the police officers on the other side of the phone seem resistant. Hannah then sees him, and he says that he could get his laptop back if he cooperates. Hannah asks what he's going to do, and Caleb walks off shaking his head. Arya is on the phone with Fitz planning their meetup tonight. Fitz wants to, he's like, I'm glad we were able to meet tonight because I want to talk about this position. Like, I need to give an answer. And I'm afraid of, like, what will happen if I, like, don't take the position and what your father will do. They then plan their date where they're going to go to this vegan bistro. Garrett is at the police station and looks around to make sure no one is coming. He then grabs Caleb's laptop and tries to access it. Wilden walks in and says, "Tempting, isn't it? The guys in IT say not to open it." And so he shuts the laptop on Garrett. Garrett asks if they've had any luck getting in, and Wilden says, "Not yet. We may have to send it to Pittsburgh for like further cracking." Wilden found, is like, "Hey, there was a missing page in the autopsy report they were able to find for Alison's death." Garrett asks, like, what he thinks then he goes, "Hey, Garrett, like, what do you think is going on in this photo?" He then hands a photo to Garrett, but we only see the back of it. Byron goes to his car and sees a note. It's from A. And on it on the typed up note says, "Tonight at 8:30. Do you know where your daughter will be? I do. Sincerely, A." And then at the bottom lists the address for the vegan bistro that they're going to be at. Hannah and Ashley and Emily set up for the swim team celebration at the Marin household. Hannah asks if they can get Caleb a lawyer, and Ashley says, no, we can't. Maya then comes over and sees Emily. Maya seems off and is like, hey, Emily, can we go talk somewhere private? They then go upstairs to talk. Ashley comes over and says, Hannah, guess what? We've been invited to the police station. Maya and Emily talk about that Maya's mom found an old joint of Maya's in a box. They've had a bunch of moving boxes and things since they come back, and there's just an old box of junk, and Maya's like, well, we even found some of Alison's stuff amongst our things. But the parents found this old joint and are gonna send her back to True North. Emily says, don't worry, that's not happening. At the station, Wilden greets Ashley and asks how she's been. Ugh. He called them in to talk about Alison's murder and investigation and asks about the missing page from the autopsy report. Wilden then shows the photo that he showed to Garrett to Ashley and then passes it over to her. And we see that it's a security photo of Hannah, Spencer, and Emily in the morgue in their candy striper uniforms. Ashley is pissed about having to come in and why they were called in when other parents weren't. She asks why Hannah was doing what she was doing in that photo. Ashley calls, Hannah tries to lie about it, and Ashley's like, Hannah, remember, I know when you're lying. And Hannah says, we didn't take the page, okay? Arya's getting ready for her date, and Byron walks over and is like, oh, well, where are you going on your date with Holden? How long? When are you getting picked up? What time? All kinds of details.
Even though his wife is the one driving them?
Uh-huh. And then Ella walks up and it's like, are you holding her up? And Byron's like, she's all yours, and leaves. Ella asks, hey, can you start to hang closer to home on these dates? The way Holden's mom talks about him, I'm surprised she lets him be far away all the time because she's worried about him. And I was like, well, why is she worried? What else? And Ella's like, well, I'm sure he's told you, but he has a heart condition. And Arya's like, oh, yeah, he told me that. The party is raging at the Marins. Spencer is pestering Emily. He's like, wait, what? They got called in where? They're at the police station? Why did they get called in there? Ashley and Hannah then come home, and Ashley's like, I'm going to head upstairs, and leaves. Spencer and Emily ask about hey, what's going on with Caleb? As they rush up to Hannah, and Hannah's like, no, it wasn't about Caleb. Wilden's back. They've already seen Wilden. And they have security photos of us when we were in the morgue. The autopsy report page is missing from everything. So Spencer's like, oh, so they also don't have it. Hannah then worries about Caleb. Spencer grabs her jacket and they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, A's just going to keep coming after us. Jenna's going to keep haunting us. People are just going to keep trying to do things. We need answers. And it's like, well, where are you going? And it's like, home. Holden and Arya separate in Philadelphia. Arya asks, hey, Holden, is this tournament dangerous? And he's like, don't worry. I have a rematch against the guy who gave me the bruise, so wish me luck. Spencer comes home to a dark house. She goes to walk upstairs and sees Peter's briefcase on the side table. She's like, goes to open it, sees the checkbook, starts to take a little bit out, but then hears someone come home and slams it shut. Peter walks in and sees her and is like, oh, I'm glad you came home. Peter then explains that, I made a series of very poor decisions. When your mom and I were getting our degrees, we were in separate places, and, the DeLaurentis, they lived, just right down, the street a little bit, so...
I slipped and fell into Mrs. DeLaurentis' vagina.
Exactly. So it's just you cheated and got someone's wife pregnant. He's like, well, she kept the baby and lied to her husband, and they moved to Atlanta, and I married your mom.
Happy endings for everybody.
Yep. They then moved back. And the first time I saw Jason was when you were about 5. Spencer asked how that made him feel. And why did they come back? Peter's like, I didn't ask. Spencer says Jason thinks Alison knew about you long before he did. Peter's like, I guess that's possible. Spencer says Jason also found money and letters from you. Did Alison ever ask you for money to keep her quiet? Peter's like, I know I don't have good standing with you right now. But believe me when I say I never gave money to that family for any reason. You know what? I do believe him.
Do you?
Yep. I don't think he parts with money easily.
Well, one of my questions for you later is, did Peter pay Allie off? And if not, where'd she get the money?
Yeah, that's a good question. Byron is at... I will. Byron is at the vegan bistro and grabs a table alone. What does Ella think he's doing for the night?
It's so why didn't he just offer to be the one that drove?
Yeah. Emily is showing off the game tape to the crowd, and like at the party there's like swimming, and she's like, look at how well like Paige swam here. She's just rocking it off. Confirmation Paige is still out there. Hannah then like walks up and points to Maya sitting like sadly on the stairs, so Emily walks over to check on her. We see that Maya's been crying, and Maya's like, can we just like go like someplace else? And Emily's like, sure, after the party. Emily gets called back over, and Maya's like, just go. It's fine. I'll be okay. Just go ahead. Jason and Spencer talk over food. Jason asks if she believes Peter, and Spencer says yes. Jason says if he didn't give Alison money, who did? Jason doesn't want to believe it's anybody else. And Spencer's like, what if it isn't him, and you just want it to be him so you can be angry? Jason, angry, then gets up and leaves. Emily looks around the party for Maya, but finds her smoking weed outside.
Like the commercials where they smoked weed and then they were flat on the couch.
Finds Maya flat. You've been smoking, haven't you? Hannah talks to Caleb on the phone asking where he is. And he's like, I'm at the police station. And he's like, I don't think I have a choice now but to talk. Caleb then sees the police coming and is like, Hannah, I'm in a real hot spot right now. Hot spot? I need your help. But then he gets cut off as Wilden and Garrett call him in to go check on the laptop. Arya enters the warehouse dojo and sees a bunch of karate happening and like boards breaking, and she's like, ah. But then she sees Holden, walks over, and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? Arya's like, like, what are you doing? I've heard you had like some kind of condition. Arya says, I want to know what is up before you end up hurt. Holden's like, with my condition, it could just rupture whenever like I'm doing anything. I'd just be like sitting on the couch, like, but it doesn't matter what I'm doing really. Like, I'd rather be doing what I love. Arya says, not telling your parents is really, really messed up. Holden says, sometimes when they say they know what's best for you, it's not best for you. He then goes and gets suited up to fight, and Arya stays and watches. Wilden interrogates Caleb and says, it's a good thing we didn't call your family back in California. It would be rough if they heard about this. Caleb's like, I didn't do anything. I came in, didn't I? Wilden hands him the laptop to log in. Caleb asks Garrett, he's like, hey, are you sure like you want like me to show Wilden what's on here? I have a very extensive video collection. Garrett's like, start typing. Love it. Mouth the fuck off. Spencer is on her computer looking stressed. Hannah is on her computer looking stressed as Spencer comes over. Hannah asks if she knows how to hack into computers, and Spencer's like, no, that's what Caleb is for. Hannah explains we need to figure out how to hack into his laptop and delete the files that A left before police see it. Spencer asks if Hannah knows his password, and she's like, damn it, I used to. Emily grills Maya about her smoking marijuana. She's like, why would you lie to me around my teammates? Maya's like, forget your teammates. Like, I don't care about those people. Like, and Emily's like, what's wrong with them? And it's like, I just don't get along with people as well as you. Maya's like, I'm not going back to True North. I have friends in San Francisco. Run away with me, Emily. Let's go. Emily says, I can't just run away. And Maya says, not even for me. Emily doesn't answer, and Maya says, I guess not. Not with the team counting on you. Fitz walks to dinner, but gets a text from Arya saying they'll have to reschedule. He looks sad and then turns and sees Byron in the restaurant. He does the the amazing Fitz reaction face, and then turns and walks away. Hannah and Spencer are trying to work and recount Caleb's password, and Hannah's like, well, it's like where he lived, and like blah, blah, it's like alternating capitals, and like, damn it, what's the numbers? I don't remember the numbers. We then we start like cutting back and forth between scenes. So we also cut back to Holden getting in his fight and like gets the first point. Caleb is accessing his computer and unlocks it for Wilden. Wilden then makes Caleb stand against the far wall as Wilden like starts like looking into it. Hannah and Spencer have only one more try to get his password right. Spencer tries to get Hannah to remember. Spencer says, like, is the number like important? Is it like a date? Is it an anniversary? Then Hannah's like, oh, I know it. And they go over and she types in the numbers and they access the laptop. Hannah celebrates like excitedly. And Spencer's like, Hannah, what do we do now? But then cut back to Holden as he continues to fight. Wilden and Garrett are looking in the files like on Caleb's computer, while Spencer and Hannah are also looking for the like dropped in files. Hannah's then like, oh God, it's definitely in the folder named Hefty, and they find all the files. Why didn't they just delete the folder? Holden loses a point badly and gets kicked a bunch.
They're not Caleb.
Yep. Garrett and Wilden continue to search as Caleb mouths off to him about his like video selection. Hannah is trying to delete all the files one by one, and Spencer just keeps yelling at her, Control A, hit Control A. And then Hannah finally does it, and they like all the files start to disappear. We also see Wilden and Garrett open up the Hefty folder just as the files are disappearing. And Wilden's like, What's happening? What did you do? And Caleb's like, I don't know. Must have been hacked or a virus or something. We see Holden win. Arya claps for him from the side. After the match, Holden is excited that she stayed and asks like, hey, what happened to your date? She's like, we can reschedule. Holden is just like, well, you can come to my next match. And she's like, no, definitely not. Arya says, this can't be what the doctor ordered. Holden says, no, he recommended gardening. This is better. Arya gets a call from Byron. And she tells him, oh yeah, I'm at the arcade. Yeah, he's right here. Here, Holden, and hands the phone to Holden. And then cut to Byron, who's like, sorry to bother you. Like, Ella just thought, like, she lost your mom's number or something. Sorry, look, enjoy your time. Byron then hangs up and looks sad, alone at the bistro. Hannah drives up to the station and embraces Caleb. As he leaves the station, Hannah says, 11:05, you couldn't have just told me that it was our first time. And Caleb says, Hannah, it had an exclamation point after it. They embrace as Garrett leaves the station. They're kissing and things. And Caleb's like, we should go. And Hannah's like, no, we should stay to rub his face in it. Sorry, I already said that. Yeah, as Garrett leaves the station. Mm-hmm. Spencer sits at home and hears a knock at the door. She opens it to Jason and is like, he's not here. And Jason's like, I know. I checked for his car out front. I came to talk to you. Spencer's like, I'm sorry if I screwed up before. Jason says, like, no, I should be sorry. I'm the one who screwed up. You were right, Spencer. I didn't want to find out that someone else was blackmailing, that Allie was blackmailing someone else. I want it to be him. It'll make things so much easier. Jason says, you know why we always seem to be facing off like this? Spencer says, we're wired the same. She says, I think I know why Allie needed the money, or part of it. She was trying to find someone. She says, I don't know who it is, but I think I can find out. I need you to trust me a lot. Jason says, how much is a lot? Spencer says, about $2,000 worth. Emily calls Maya, and leaves her a message saying, we need to fix this. Please call. Don't do anything until we talk, and I love you. We then cut to a POV shot of someone watching her from outside her house. The end.
All right. And what made the police want Caleb's computer? Just what tip that's like he stole files?
Totally. Yep. Tip from A. There was an anonymous tip that was like, this person is committing cyber crimes.
Yeah, and the police aren't bothering to solve the murder case that they are dealing with, so they might as well look into this.
They could have also did a breadcrumb of like, no, it was just school files. Never mind. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think for whatever reason, it is just, maybe there could have been a tip that was related to Alison's disappearance.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's why they were looking into it. But it was the tip, and they're like, nope, time to go after the people.
Time to go after
rattle the
child.
cages. Exactly. He's connected to our suspects.
Why is Byron insane?
But it's also like, it's so funny because, again, they were going to that bistro, but Byron doesn't know how to talk. Byron is closed off, and poor Ella is just being dragged around. And I mean, like, unfortunately, because of how the show is, we also know that he's right not to trust Arya because Arya is lying to him. But like, you know, again, like if in real life, it's like you need to trust your kids to be able to make mistakes and also be honest with them and trust them for like the decisions they're making. In this case, she is dating a teacher and seeing a groomer, so those lines get blurry real fast. Where like, oh, how does this parent keep them away? This is not safe for my daughter. But then also Byron not knowing how to communicate at all. So it's such a mess.
It's so
because
chaotic.
like Byron is like kind of right, but like he shouldn't be doing it this way. But also it's Byron. So it's just a goddamn mess. But I do think it's very funny, Byron sitting alone in a restaurant.
It was when he called too, because like, you know, she didn't show up there, so you obviously know the tip you got was wrong.
Right. So then you could have just like
Gone home like a fucking normal person.
But it was worth it just for like the Fitz reaction again, like
His little like fish face.
Yeah, fish face for sure.
Why was Maya talking to Jason?
I know. Seems like she's making a lot of friends with people and like talking to just like random like boys and men throughout the town.
That's interesting because she's not very social, right?
I know. She doesn't get along with people, you know?
She doesn't fit in.
She's not gonna fit in.
She's very drug
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe not that exact reason, but I think it like ties into some suspicious behavior.
Is Alison's A the same A that is tormenting the girls?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. I'm gonna say yes on that one. For sure. 100%. Yep.
Does Wilden honestly think that the girls stole the paper if they walked out without it, and they would have had to have been able to steal the police copies? How talented does he think they are?
Yeah, that's true.
Why
so I would have
is
said
he-
yes, but like also if the police copies are gone, like that's an internal investigation, my dude. But if he's trying to track down, imagine for a moment that us seeing Wilden with Jenna at the night of the Halloween party was not a mistake, and that maybe he's also doing some reconnaissance to try and track down page 5 if they do think that a page 5 is floating around. That's the only explanation I could think of possibly, because otherwise...
Well, we know Garrett got rid of them all.
Right. So, or supposedly.
Alleged. Well, that's what he told Jenna.
So, again, he's either inept, which is very possible. Like, I wouldn't think that he wouldn't be. I do think, because I just can't help but not get that, like, him and Jenna in that episode is not somehow significant to what's happening now. Also, again, Wilden being the giantest creeper on the face of the planet, again, just calling in the woman that he harassed and moved into her house to harass her some more, and like act pleasant because, like, yeah, look at me, I'm back, isn't that fun? Just being the worst goddamn dude on the face of the planet in a list of bad dudes.
Speaking of him being back, how has Veronica Hastings not kicked him back out of the town yet?
I know. Veronica, get back into the police station. Thank you for reminding me about that. I forgot about the dressing down she gave him. Like, don't you come back here. You won't have a job.
Do we need to create a DeLaurentis Hastings family tree, or do you think you got it?
Oh, okay. I got it. So we have, I don't know the matriarch and patriarch of the DeLaurentises.
Mr. and Mrs. for now.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. DeLaurentis. Mrs. DeLaurentis, they were friends with Peter and Veronica. Veronica and Peter are getting degrees in separate areas. Peter's like, well, she's right down the street.
Fuck around, find out.
Exactly, yep, goes down the street. Jason, it's only Jason and Alison, right? So Jason is his son, who is then the half-brother to Spencer and Melissa. And then Alison is the DeLaurentis through and through.
Did Peter pay Allie off?
No, I don't think so. I do think they're right on that. Like, again, I don't think Peter is one to part with his money on that. Like, I think how, like, Jason says he starts sounding like a lawyer all of a sudden. I don't think Peter is just like, I'm not spending money on this. Like, I there are ways for me to bury this. Like, I think he has, like, more at his disposal to be like, no. Like, you don't get to blackmail me. So I think just Peter being a bad dude and also having more money than anything and being the type of person that would be like, no, I'm not caving to this. Would be no, that is not who she was blackmailing. Do I think the money is potentially from the scheme that Ian, Garrett, and the NAT club talk about? Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know what that is specifically is, but do I think that was part of the scheme that Ian talks about and Garrett and them being in too deep?
Okay. Interesting.
Because that would give them another stake outside of just the videos to like get back from her. And I do think at least part of that money was to use to is the A tracking her down.
Jason and Spencer's were wired the same scene.
I know, it's so funny.
Are they wired the same?
I don't think so. I was like, you two are not alike at all. You're both stubborn, I guess. I guess there's that.
They get that from their father.
Exactly. But it's very funny. This also happens in like Riverdale, where it's like, yes, the bad qualities from the father are passed down. It's like, that's not really how it works, but but it's so funny that there's this scene. It's like, we're not so different, you and I.
You and I.
From different sides of the yard.
From different sides of the wall.
Exactly. The fence that wasn't built.
Well, but the Hastings still have a fence.
Oh, right. Yeah, just not the DeLaurentis. Got to put a stop to that. Because, yeah, let's not forget that Peter was awfully concerned about that.
Maya asking Emily to go run away, and also Maya smoking weed.
Yeah. Okay, so I do think Maya is having a bad time with her parents. I do think that's truth.
I like that we never saw the joint lit.
No, it was just like, and Emily just, it is more about like that she's lying to her, which is totally fair.
Fair.
Yeah. It is less about like, I can't believe you're smoking pot again. You're off the wagon.
It's more about you'll get sent back to True North.
Yeah, exactly. And like that you weren't telling me the truth about like that you were still smoking weed. Although Emily, if she did tell Emily that she was still smoking weed, Emily wouldn't take it great. But, that is the gamble. But she's also a kid. So I understand more of like, well, I'm not going to listen to my parents on this one. Yeah, I have a suspicion that was Maya outside of Emily's place.
Oh.
At the end of the episode with like that A stuff.
Creepy.
Yeah, I still think that Maya's
A and Jason is son.
That's right. And Black Hoodie.
Well, at least you got one for sure.
Jason yes, exactly. We got one on the board.
We can do a Jason is son counter on this episode. What info does Jonah have? I wrote weird guy because I couldn't remember his name, and then I remember it was Jonah.
We're gonna get like a phone number. It's gonna be like not a complete thing. Like he's gonna give up the number of the number of A. It's not gonna be like the complete information. It's not gonna be like, oh, here's like A is like blah blah blah. I think it's just gonna be like, yeah, okay, like the person that was calling him is this number.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah, exactly. It's just gonna be like that next step. So then they have to figure out, like, try and look up the number somehow. That's my suspicion.
Okay.
Jonah is a sketchy dude for sure.
Yeah.
He was.
Having worked in HR, I can tell you they're all sketch.
Exactly. Dealing with high schoolers, selling like company information,
personal information.
Yeah, that's PIIA.
That's no.
No.
PIIA. Well, I mean, like that'd be like a proprietary information agreement.
Oh, okay. PIIA? Isn't it like personal identifiable information?
Oh God. There's PI. There's like health information.
Oh, okay. I thought PIA was any like identifiable information.
I don't think so.
PIAO.
It's an intellectual property agreement.
Oh, okay.
PIIA.
Never mind. So it's about that's about the companies, not the person's personal information.
A PIIAA is the Proprietary Information and Inventions Assignment Agreement.
Okay. Well, you know, that's all right. We don't need to get into legal definitions.
You don't want to dig into proprietary agreements?
No. But you know, he's given up company info there.
Yes. That's not what I was looking for either. Okay, that's all I had for you on that. So do you want to go into Theory Corner?
Let's do it. 1 minute pause.
You can
Dramatic
hit pause.
effect.
I like it.
Let's step into Theory Corner. Welcome to the Theory Corner, Brenton's Theory Corner, where we sit in the corner and discuss some theories. Everybody, welcome. Take a seat. Sit down.
I kind of like the dust
Now.
lamps in that photo.
It is really nice.
I like
Those
the green.
old school
Uh-huh.
desk lamps. No.
Mhm.
I mean, it's nice. I like this office. That's why I chose it.
Carry on.
That's why I printed it out. So I still think Maya is A. And you mentioned off mic that like these episodes you start getting like different like, oh, is this person A? Is this person
I think
A?
it starts with the ones with Lucas where you're like, is Lucas A? And then like all of a sudden you're like, okay, no, maybe it's this person. Okay, no, maybe it's this person.
And so we get some breadcrumb. I still think it's suspicious of Maya interacting with all these people that are only, you know, because they are characters we know. They're somehow connected to Alison.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jason and Noel. Like, what is she talking to him about? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and she also drops the reference of finding Alison stuff, like in an extra box in their thing. So like something's going on there with her connection to Alison
Mm-hmm.
that isn't fully explained.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot, she's very cagey, just about like general life things of like, what is going on?
Yeah, what's she doing?
Mhm.
What's her vibe?
Right. So like, it's all circumstantial evidence with Maya at the moment of
Okay.
like, I'm suspicious, but I think that's my best lead.
Okay.
Now, going on your theory, your bless you.
I'm just hacking up a lung for no reason.
Cool. Going on that template of like giving us different like people to think that are A. They do a really good job of the previous episode of pointing to Mona, because Mona is like, Emily, come over to the dark side. Like, let's do some like evil shit.
Do some
And
bad
then-
girl shit.
Exactly. And then also presses her the same way that her friends do. Like, oh, what are you scared, Emily? Mona, we know, aggrieved in the past by Alison.
Mm-hmm.
Also, got along with Jenna at the Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just we generally don't know much about like what else she's doing, but we really get this vibe that she's extremely capable on the computer of tying information together
Mm-hmm.
that isn't really readily apparent. That is just like expense report this. Oh, that bleeps to the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would she know all that? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it
She's
almost
exceptionally smart.
yes, and it also seems like there's a way that you could read that where she's like setting up Emily to do these things on her own. Like Emily is the one that's then clicking through on the computer to do things. So I think that's one way that like Mona could potentially be it.
Okay.
Either way, I do like Mona like messing with shit, even if she's not A. It's great.
If Mona is A, why did she help Emily get back on the swim team?
Yeah, I think to have Emily actually do the blackmailing.
Got it.
Or like at least like digging around on
Acquiring
the
the
computer.
files.
Right, exactly, because then that's one thing that she now has on her.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's another way of picking that stuff up. So I think that's one thing. I still like the Maya theory better, but I think there's a good case in that episode that could be made.
Okay.
Let's see, outside possibilities. We got to do it. You know, it could always be Toby. which I wouldn't like it.
Toby?
Could always be Toby.
You think Toby would do that to Spencer?
No. I'm just saying it could be. And this like entire show could pull the rug out from under me. There's a
There. It's okay. It's gonna be okay, honey.
I mentioned the podcast before, but on a bonus episode for Homestuck Made This World, they recently did Saw, and they one of the hosts on there did Cameron Kunzelman did a really good job of explaining when a like show or movie is a collaborator versus when they're trying to trick you with like twists.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm always keeping an eye. So like whereas a collaborator, you get like breadcrumbs and you go, oh my God, I could have put that together.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like just trying to trick you is where it's just like, oh, we didn't give you all the information already. And like, we're just trying to like trick you with this final twist.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always worried that they could do that. And that's why I throw out things like Toby.
Okay.
And
didn't Mona get an A text though? Did Mona not get an A text? I thought early.
Oh, early on from about like Hannah getting liposuction, but a bunch of people had gotten it.
Okay, fair enough.
And we don't see her actually receive it. She just walks up to her and is like, "I can't believe it."
Fair enough.
And
and we think Maya was actually. Do we think Maya actually went to True North then? If she's
yes,
A.
but I think Maya has, if she's A, has ways getting out of camp and things like that. Yeah. I don't think it's Noel. I still, I think that whole like Jenna wing is like she's running her own like wildly like dense operation.
Mike refers to her as Thanos. Like she has Thanos levels of just like abilities because like.
So
you're just like, what the fuck?
So that might lend credence to like the army of men that I think she has at her disposal. Garrett, now Noel, potentially Wilden.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a completely separate menace crew.
A menace menagerie.
I love it. MM. And I don't think I have any other good ones. So top two at the moment. Maya, and then Mona.
So you only go for M names?
Apparently.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Could be Ezra?
Of course. Always fits.
Always fits.
Yep.
Could be
He's
Ezra or
always
Toby?
on the list. Oh, God, yeah. I don't like thinking about it.
If it's Toby, what are you going to do? Cry.
It might be the final episode. Can't carry on. It'll be a rough one.
Uh-huh.
My boy.
Do you have any final thoughts or theories?
I think that is it for this week. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Goodbye.
Any final thoughts on the episode?
Yeah, I had a great time with these episodes. Oh, Caleb, giving what's what to the cops is tremendous in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a really great time. Oh, yeah, no further thoughts. Just good times.
Just vibes.
Yeah, I'm excited as this continues to heat up with our mysteries. So yeah, we're really approaching the end. So in these episodes especially have gotten like so much better. So it's just been like the slightly steady progression to the end.
All right. Well, in that case, when I'm not here doing this, sometimes I do other things, and you can find all of those things in my link tree that Brenton will link in everything. Sometimes I post on TikTok. I used to post on YouTube. It's been a long time. Maybe I'll do it again. I don't know. Follow and find out. And I have a blog that I post usually about books or any thought that enters my head that I feel like writing down. So, it's like a long form Twitter. Back in the day when people used to write long form tweets.
That's
blog
right.
posts.
Exactly.
2012.
Truly.
The blogger era.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
You can find this podcast on all of your audio podcast platforms of choice or on YouTube at Dead Ends.
You can watch Brenton make his Fitz face.
Exactly. You can't only that's for you video people. We appreciate
Engagement, likes,
Good.
comments,
Thank you.
subscribes, anything like that. When you comment on a
Reviews.
thing, yeah, you review it. You say, "Oh," but please be nice. Not that
Yes.
anyone's been mean. Everyone's
No.
been very nice.
Everybody's been very nice.
But we have fragile egos.
Exactly.
We're so fragile.
You could also
Hanging on by a thread over here.
please. You can also find us on Twitter at deadendspcast. Keep up with new episodes and all that. Any news that comes our way.
And feel free to say hi to me over there when there's a big earthquake, because that's where I am.
Investigating. You can also send emails. Oh yeah, send in emails for any like A theories and stuff ahead of time. Make sure please mark spoilers so Emily can review them and I will avoid them. To deadendspcast@gmail.com. And you can find all this stuff in the episode description.
All right.
Okay. We are still here. We're still here. And we're gonna find out everything.
How confident do you feel in your A theory of Maya?
I'm getting more confident about it.
Okay.
Still shaky though.
Okay. Not stable.
No, but
You will find out everything then.
exactly.
Or you'll find out some things. I can't promise everything.
Yeah.
I don't even know if the end of the show gives you everything.
Oh God, probably not. But yeah.
Bye, friends.